We've got to get to Newt Gingrich right now, former House Speaker and Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich joining the conversation. Mr. Speaker, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you.
So this morning, a lot of people saying that Cruz's victory in Wisconsin is a momentum shifter. You don't see it that way, or do you?
Well, I think certainly the size of the victory helped him tremendously. And I think that it has to trouble Donald Trump and his team a great deal. Now, the question will be, when you go into New York next, there are some congressional districts where I think Trump will find himself in a real fight. Overall, he'll probably carry the state very handily. He's way ahead in the polls. And I think the challenge for Cruz is, how do you take this new momentum and turn it into enough votes in places like New York and Pennsylvania that you can ultimately get to California? Not clear yet that he can do it, but last night was a very good night for Cruz, and frankly, a very bad night for Donald Trump. You're not the front runner very convincingly, as Hillary Clinton is doing on the other side, if you're not winning decisively.
And does it suggest to you that we are headed for a contested convention?
Well, look, I think we have two people who are likely to be nominated, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. Under the rules that Romney imposed last time, you can't get nominated unless you can earn the votes of at least a majority of 8 states. You literally can't even get nominated. If you're not nominated, you can't be counted.
Right.
So all this speculation about somebody magically showing up, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, hi,
Here's Steve Moore.
I mean, I just want to, because that's such a critical point you just made, but you know, we all know that there is a plan being hatched now by the Republican establishment to change those rules, right, in the middle of the game.
Yeah, but,
you know,
do they really think they can get away with that, changing the rules now?
Well,
yes,
let's keep in mind here for a second. The overwhelming number of delegates are either going to be Ted Cruz or Donald Trump supporters.
Yeah, but
they're
how
not
are they
going
loyal?
to allow the rules to be changed. That's not going to favor Ted Cruz or Donald Trump.
Well, I hope you're right about that.
What do you think?
So what does the Speaker have to say?
Newt?
Well, look, I think as these guys both know, there are very self-important people in New York and in Washington who are rushing around from cocktail party to cocktail party, sharing with each other this magic insight that somehow they will get to be in charge again because they've always been in charge. And they don't understand. This is a genuine revolution underway.
Yeah, exactly.
Over 80% of the delegates are going to be committed to either Trump or Cruz. Now, do you think Trump and Cruz are going to sit there and go, oh, yes, why don't we change rules, which ironically were imposed by the Romney people for the purpose of control? So the very people who designed these rules are now getting bit by the rules they set up, and there is zero possibility that Trump and Cruz are dumb enough to let them change it. So it's not going to happen. We're going to play under the rules as they are now.
I hope you're right.
Because they're to the advantage of Trump and Cruz.
Especially since the followers and the voters will get angry. I mean, that will create chaos.
Well, look, I would get angry.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
Mean, the whole idea of some handful of people in a back room in this day and age trying to impose their will would be goofy.
Yeah. Yeah, I said to earlier the team, I said, it reminds me of when I first got down to Wall Street on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. There was this group of people that thought, you know what, no, you don't understand this, you can't know this. It's the same thing.
It is. It's
in politics.
That's
It's a small group of people who think they know better. David Avella.
Mr. Speaker, this is David Avella. You being a historian, are the Founding Fathers rejoicing at the states having such control and that we are battling state by state to decide who our both parties' nominees are going to be?
Well, actually, Cliff and I actually have a movie coming out in May on George Washington, so we've been spending a lot of time with the Founding Fathers. I would say they'd be split. I think Hamilton would be shocked at all of this popular uprising, and Jefferson would be dancing every day, thinking it's so wonderful that the people have risen up. I actually think the right analog is a generation later with Andrew Jackson, who's the first real populist to win power in America. And I think what you're seeing, look, Cruz a year ago would have been seen as the extreme outsider, unacceptable, anti-establishment. Trump has now normalized Cruz. So you now have Trump and Cruz, and here's this poor establishment over here, which has been drifting steadily away from its base, and all of a sudden they're discovering you can't be an establishment if you're not established.
We got to cover two things before you go, Newt.
Okay.
First of all, we got to ask you about the government and really cracking down on some of these big deals. Today, Pfizer's walking away from its deal with Allergan. But before I get to that, Clinton is hitting Sanders hard in a Politico interview. Real quick on your takeaway from the Democratic side of the race last night, and Sanders winning so much.
Well, I always thought if he could win by more than 10 points, it was significant. I think he won by 12.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting, by the way, people talk about folks who won't vote for Trump. There's a report this morning, 25% of the Sanders people say they will not vote for Hillary. Nobody's covering the gap that is growing in the Democratic Party. New York is going to be, I think, very big for both parties. Sanders is raising so much more money than Hillary, and doing it, by the way, in a very populist way, online, $27 at a time. He's now, I think, outraised her by $32 million in the last 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and just last month,
he's going to be able to
$40
compete.
million. Yeah.
That's right. He'll be able to compete in a way that will be very interesting by the time you get to the primary 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, we've been talking about this new rule coming out of the Treasury Department. Yesterday, they announced new rules making it much more expensive and harder for companies to acquire companies overseas and move their headquarters to another country for a lower tax rate. Like clockwork, Pfizer this morning announces it's walking away from the deal with Allergan, $150 billion deal. Is the Obama administration trying to go out with a bang here, ramp it up in terms of the regulations before a new president comes in?
Well, Steve Moore will understand this as well as anybody in the country. This administration has decided that Mitterrand's original socialist effort to create an isolated French economy was right. And so they are now adopting a series of anti-jobs, anti-business rules whose stupidity is unmatched. All it will do is weaken the American economy, guarantee that capital flees the country, and teaches foreigners not to invest in the U.S. because we have a government that is so rigorously anti-business.
Cut the corporate tax rate, right?
Yeah, there are so many things you could do to bring business back, none of which would be acceptable to the socialists who currently occupy the White House.
It's unbelievable, Sandra. I mean, it's all about the corporate tax rate being the highest in the industrialized world.
Yeah, and this is Donald Trump and Ted Cruz have both focused on this in their campaigns. And Speaker, this is Sandra. I would ask you as we leave things off, who is best fit to beat, as it would stand today, the Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton on the GOP side? Is it Donald Trump? Is it Ted Cruz? The polls say it's John Kasich.
Well, I think the person who's going to be best suited to beat Hillary Clinton is the one who gets the most delegates by the time we get to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well played.
Look, this is a game of constant learning. Ted Cruz is a better candidate today than he was 6 months ago. Donald Trump is a dramatically better candidate than he was. Kasich's a great guy, but I don't see how he gets to the nomination. I think he could be vice president, but it's very hard to see how he's going to get past these two guys to win the nomination.
Mr. Speaker, always a pleasure to have your great analysis. Thank you.
With you.
We'll see you soon. Newt Gingrich there.